Welcome to tonight's peaceful journey through the wonders of nature. In this video, we'll share 1,000 fascinating facts about one of the world's most incredible animals. The perfect way to relax, unwind, and drift into a deep, restful sleep. As you listen, there's no need to stay awake or remember every detail. Just let the gentle rhythm of facts and soft sounds help your mind slow down and your body rest. If you enjoy calm storytelling and want more relaxing nature videos like this, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and join our growing community of curious dreamers. Now, get comfortable, close your eyes, and let's begin. With fact number 1, the giraffe, Giraffa camelopardalis, is the tallest terrestrial animal on Earth, reaching heights of up to 5.7 meters, 18.7 feet in males. The species belongs to the family Giraffidae, which also includes the okapi, its only living relative. The word giraffe comes from the Arabic zarafa, meaning fast walker. Fossil evidence suggests giraffes evolved approximately 8 million years ago during the Miocene epoch. Early giraffids, like Civatherium, were shorter but had more massive builds compared to modern giraffes. Giraffes and okapis diverged from a common ancestor roughly 11.5 million years ago. There are 4 genetically distinct giraffe species recognized today: northern, southern, Maasai, and reticulated. Each species has subspecies and regional variations in coat pattern and size. Giraffe taxonomy was long debated. Previously thought to be one species with 9 subspecies, modern genetics disproved that. The giraffe's scientific name, camelopardalis, means camel leopard, referring to its hump-like body and spotted coat. Giraffes' coat patterns are unique to each individual, much like human fingerprints. These patterns are not only for camouflage, but may help regulate body temperature. Giraffe coats contain complex networks of blood vessels beneath the darker patches to aid heat dissipation. The neck of a giraffe can reach up to 2.4 meters, 8 feet in length. Despite its length, the giraffe's neck contains only 7 cervical vertebrae, the same number as humans. Each vertebra, however, can be over 25 centimeters, 10 inches long. The neck vertebrae are connected by ball and socket joints, allowing surprising flexibility. The long neck evolved not only for feeding but also for sexual competition among males, and known as necking. Necking behavior involves males swinging their heads like sledgehammers to strike opponents. The heaviest recorded giraffe skull weighed over 30 kilograms, 66 pounds. Male. Giraffes often have thicker skulls than females due to ossification from repeated combat. The giraffe's skull features prominent ossicones, horn-like structures covered in skin and fur. Unlike true horns, ossicones are made of ossified cartilage and fuse to the skull over time. Both males and females have ossicones, but males are thicker and sometimes bald at the top. Male. Giraffes also develop additional bony growths called calcium deposits as they age. The ossicones help absorb impact during necking. Battles. Giraffes' large eyes, positioned on the sides of their head, give them nearly panoramic vision. Their eyesight is among the sharpest of all land mammals, allowing them to spot predators from kilometers away. Giraffes also have a nictitating membrane, a thin, protective eyelid that keeps out dust and debris. The eyelashes of a giraffe can be over 5 centimeters long. Giraffes' nostrils can close completely to keep out sand. During dust storms, their ears are highly mobile, capable of rotating to detect sounds from multiple directions. Despite their size, giraffes produce surprisingly quiet vocalizations. For many years, they were thought to be mute, but they emit infrasonic sounds below human hearing range. They also hum softly at night, possibly for communication within herds. Giraffes have long, prehensile tongues up to 45 centimeters, 18 inches long. Their tongues are dark blue or purple, a pigmentation that protects against sunburn. The tongue's muscular structure allows giraffes to strip leaves and thorns from acacia trees efficiently. Giraffes' lips are also tough and flexible, able to handle thorny vegetation. They have 32 teeth, the same number as humans. Their molars are adapted for grinding fibrous plant material. Giraffes use a sideways sweep, chewing motion, rather than up and down like most herbivores. They lack upper front teeth, instead using a hard dental pad to crush leaves. their jaws and skull shape optimize, leverage for chewing tough foliage. Giraffes' long necks require an extremely powerful heart to pump blood to the brain. A giraffe's heart can weigh up to 11 kilograms, 24 pounds. It produces a blood pressure twice that of a human, around 160 make. Their arteries are reinforced with elastic walls to handle high pressure. Valves in their veins prevent blood from rushing back when they lower their heads. When a giraffe drinks, specialized mechanisms in its circulatory system regulate blood flow to avoid fainting. Their long legs each measure about 1.8 meters, 6 feet, roughly the height of an adult human. The front legs appear longer than the hind legs, but they are nearly equal in length. Their gait is unique. They move both legs on one side simultaneously, a pacing motion. This gait helps balance their long neck while walking. When running, giraffes use a galloping motion where the hind legs swing outside the front legs. They can sprint at speeds up to 60 km/h, 37 mph, over short distances. Despite their height, giraffes are remarkably agile and can turn quickly when threatened. Their hooves are up to 30 cm, 12 inches across, providing stability on loose soil. A single kick from a giraffe can kill a lion. The skin of a giraffe is about 2 cm thick on the body, protecting against bites and scratches. Their skin secretes a strong-smelling oily substance that may act as an antibacterial agent. This secretion gives giraffes their characteristic musky odor. The fur is short but dense, helping repel parasites. Some giraffe populations have thicker coats adapted for cooler climates. The coloration of a giraffe's spots depends on genetics, age, and temperature regulation. Younger giraffes often have lighter coats that darken with age. The spacing and shape of patches differ among species. Reticulated giraffes have polygonal patterns, while Maasai giraffes have jagged, vine-like spots. These coat differences are so distinct they can be used to identify individual animals via computer vision. The reticulated giraffe's coat has one of the most geometric, natural patterns in the animal kingdom. In the wild, their coloration provides camouflage. Amid tree shadows and sunlight, the patterning also helps with thermoregulation. Darker patches radiate heat more efficiently. Blood vessels beneath the dark patches have higher concentrations of sweat glands. The skin beneath lighter patches tends to be cooler to balance temperature. A giraffe's head houses sinuses and air pockets that help reduce skull weight. Their nasal passages are extensive, filtering dust and cooling incoming air. The brain of a giraffe weighs around 700 grams, relatively small for its body size. Despite that, their cognitive abilities are sophisticated, showing problem-solving and social memory. The spinal column is heavily reinforced. To support the massive neck, giraffes cannot bend their necks freely to the ground without spreading their legs. Awkwardly, this drinking posture makes them vulnerable to predators. The tail of a giraffe is about 1 meter, 3.3 feet long, tipped with a tuft of coarse black hair. They use their tails as fly swatters, moving them constantly. Their tails are so strong that early settlers used them as whips. The tail hairs were once woven into bracelets and cords by African tribes. A giraffe's body is adapted for browsing, not grazing. They rarely eat grass. Their height gives them access to food other herbivores can't reach. Adult males often browse at higher levels than females, reducing food competition. The giraffe's rib cage is barrel-shaped, housing large lungs for efficient oxygen intake. Their lungs can hold about 55 liters of air. The respiratory system must overcome immense pressure differences. Due to their height, their diaphragm is particularly strong to aid breathing. Giraffes rely heavily on olfactory cues. Their sense of smell is well developed. They can detect pheromones and chemical signals from great distances. Their vomeronasal organ, Jacobson's organ, helps in reproductive communication. The long trachea can exceed 2 meters in length. Despite the distance, they manage efficient gas exchange through slow, deep breathing. The tongue's surface is covered in thick papillae that protect it from thorns. Giraffes' vocal cords are long, but relatively underused, producing low-frequency sounds. Some studies suggest they can detect seismic vibrations through their legs. Overall, every part of a giraffe's anatomy reflects millions of years of adaptation to a high-browsing lifestyle. The giraffe's circulatory system is one of the most specialized among mammals, designed to sustain extreme vertical height. To prevent brain damage from sudden pressure changes, giraffes have a rete mirabile, a complex network of small arteries that regulate blood flow to the brain. When they lower their head to drink, the rete mirabile acts as a hydraulic buffer, preventing excess blood from rushing upward. Their arterial walls are about twice as thick as those of most large mammals, with strong elastic fibers. Giraffes' blood vessels contain tight muscle sheaths that help maintain constant blood pressure. Their heart rate averages 40-90 beats per minute, depending on activity. Despite the high blood pressure, giraffes do not suffer from hypertension-related health issues like humans would. The heart has an unusually thick left ventricle that must generate massive pressure to push blood upward. Giraffes' veins in the legs contain valves that prevent backflow, countering gravity's pull. Their legs also have tight fascia wrapping, like compression socks, to prevent blood pooling. This natural anti-gravity system inspired research into pressure suits for astronauts. Giraffes' lungs are large and spongy, adapted for deep, slow breaths that balance oxygen flow. Their breathing rate is relatively low, around 10 breaths per minute at rest. The large lung capacity allows efficient oxygen exchange despite the long trachea. Because of their long necks, giraffes experience significant dead space, air that doesn't reach the lungs, which they compensate for with powerful inhalations. Trachea itself is reinforced with cartilaginous rings to prevent collapse under pressure. Giraffes' red blood cells are smaller and more numerous than those of humans, maximizing oxygen transport. Their hemoglobin has a higher affinity for oxygen, ensuring supply to the brain at altitude. Blood oxygen saturation levels remain stable regardless of posture due to these adaptations. The kidneys of giraffes are efficient in water conservation, crucial for life in arid environments. They can survive for weeks without direct water intake, obtaining moisture from leaves. Their urine is concentrated, reducing water loss. The liver plays a key role in metabolizing the fibrous diet, producing large amounts of bile for digestion. Giraffes are ruminants, meaning they have a 4-chambered stomach for fermenting plant material. The chambers are the rumen, reticulum, omasum, and abomasum. The rumen hosts symbiotic bacteria that break down cellulose. After initial swallowing, food returns to the mouth for cud chewing. Giraffes spend up to 20 hours a day chewing cud and digesting. This process maximizes nutrient extraction from fibrous plants. Their stomachs can hold up to 75 liters of material. Digestive efficiency allows giraffes to thrive on low-nutrient leaves other animals can't. Subsist on acacia leaves, their favorite food, contain tannins, bitter compounds most herbivores avoid. Giraffes have evolved tannin-tolerant gut microbes to handle this. Their saliva is thick, sticky, and alkaline, neutralizing tannins and coating thorny food. Each giraffe's microbiome is unique, shaped by its diet and environment. The intestines can stretch over 60 meters long, maximizing absorption area. The liver and pancreas produce enzymes specialized for cellulose breakdown. Giraffes rarely show digestive disorders thanks to stable gut flora. However, sudden dietary changes in captivity can disrupt this balance. Their metabolic rate is lower than expected for their body mass, reducing caloric demand. Adult giraffes typically consume around 30 to 75 kilograms of leaves daily. They prefer browsing at dawn and dusk, when leaves contain more water. During drought, they can shift to evergreen species, seasonal. Migration in some populations follows vegetation availability. Giraffes' long tongues and lips allow them to feed efficiently without damaging delicate shoots. Their prehensile tongue has 2 main muscle groups enabling curling and twisting. The papillae on the tongue's surface act like sandpaper, aiding grip. Giraffes often feed in a clockwise pattern around trees, leaving a spiral-shaped foliage mark. This browsing technique promotes regrowth in acacia trees. Acacias evolved mutualistic relationships with giraffes. Some species rely on browsing to stimulate seed. Dispersal. Giraffes' saliva may aid in seed germination by softening seed coats. Their long digestive tract also contributes to seed distribution through dung. Giraffe dung is pelleted and dry, conserving water while fertilizing soil. Their waste supports insect populations, forming part of the savanna nutrient cycle. Because giraffes eat selective leaves, they influence plant community structure. Ecologists consider giraffes keystone browsers in African ecosystems. Their feeding opens canopy layers, allowing light to reach lower plants. This increases biodiversity by supporting grasses and shrubs. Giraffes' height allows them to act as early sentinels. They often spot predators before others. Other animals like zebras and impalas use giraffes' vigilance to gauge danger. Giraffes' large lungs and nasal passages help detect pheromones in the environment. Males use the flamen response, curling the lip to sense female fertility. This behavior channels scent molecules into the vomeronasal organ. Females also use olfactory cues to identify their calves among herds. Giraffes have acute hearing capable of detecting distant lion roars and elephant rumbles. Their sense of touch is centered in the muzzle and lips. Highly sensitive despite their thick skin, they use tactile gestures such as rubbing necks for bonding. The musculature of a giraffe's neck is massive, with long tendons supporting the head's weight. Each neck muscle has elastic properties to counter gravity efficiently. When bending, they use both muscle control and blood pressure regulation simultaneously. The neutral ligament connects the skull to the shoulders, stabilizing the neck. This ligament stores elastic energy that helps raise the head after lowering it. The giraffe's spine has specialized articulations allowing balance during movement. The thoracic vertebrae are arranged to distribute neck and limb weight evenly. Their chest cavity is deep, accommodating large lungs and heart volume. Rib bones are long and slightly curved, providing flexibility during respiration. Their sternum is reinforced to withstand pressure when bending forward. The pelvis is narrow and upright, optimized for stride efficiency. Giraffes' hind limbs are powerful, generating propulsion during gallops. The knee joints lock slightly during standing, allowing rest without muscle fatigue. Giraffes sleep standing or kneeling, often for less than 30 minutes per day in total. Their sleep is divided into short bursts, rarely exceeding 5 minutes. Each they experience REM sleep only when lying, down with the head resting on the rump. Such rest is risky in the wild due to predation. Vulnerability. Captive giraffes sleep more, up to 4 hours per day, due to reduced threats. Their brain structure shows adaptations for visual spatial processing, essential for navigating tall environments. Giraffes have large occipital lobes for visual input. Their olfactory bulbs are smaller, reflecting reliance on sight over smell. The cerebral cortex shows complexity associated with social behavior. They recognize individual faces and coat patterns, suggesting visual memory. Their large brain-to-body ratio supports problem-solving, such as identifying safe drinking spots. Giraffes' nervous system is fine-tuned for coordination between the long neck and legs. Reaction times are slower than small mammals, but sufficient for survival. Their spinal nerves are elongated, matching their long vertebral column. Reflexes in the legs help them maintain balance when walking on uneven ground. The vestibular system in their inner ears maintains equilibrium during high browsing. Giraffes can adjust gaze precisely despite head movement, a trait called vestibulo-ocular reflex. This stabilizes vision while moving or fighting. Their cardiovascular, skeletal, and nervous systems operate in perfect synchronization, a marvel of evolutionary engineering. Altogether, the giraffe's physiology represents one of the most extreme yet elegant examples of adaptation to a vertical lifestyle. Giraffes are obligate browsers, meaning they feed primarily on leaves, buds, and shoots from trees and shrubs rather than grasses. Their height gives them a significant ecological advantage, allowing access to upper canopy foliage that other herbivores cannot reach. Adult males typically browse at heights between 4 and 5 meters, while females feed slightly lower, around 3 to 4 meters. This height segregation reduces feeding competition between sexes. Giraffes use their long, prehensile tongues to wrap around twigs and strip leaves with a pulling motion. The tongue's dexterity allows them to pluck leaves even from branches covered in sharp thorns. Acacia trees, their main food source, have evolved physical defenses like long thorns to deter browsers. Despite these defenses, giraffes' tongues and lips are so tough that they can eat acacia leaves without injury. Giraffes also feed on other plant genera, such as Combretum, Terminalia, Commiphora, and Boscia. The exact diet composition varies by region and season, depending on plant availability. During the dry season, giraffes may switch to evergreen species or consume bark and seed pods for sustenance. They occasionally chew on bones, a behavior known as osteophagy, to obtain essential minerals like calcium and phosphorus. Osteophagy is common in areas where soils are nutrient-poor. Giraffes have been observed licking dried mud or termite mounds for mineral intake. Their feeding time peaks during dawn and dusk, when temperatures are cooler and leaves retain moisture. During midday heat, giraffes often rest in shaded areas, ruminating rather than actively feeding. In captivity, giraffes are fed diets that simulate natural browsing, including acacia branches, alfalfa, and specialized pellets. However, captive diets must be carefully managed to avoid digestive issues due to lack of roughage. Giraffes typically feed for 16-20 hours a day. In the wild, they can consume up to 75 kilograms, 165 pounds, of plant material daily. Their digestive system is slow but highly efficient, extracting maximum nutrients from fibrous material. Giraffes drink infrequently, often going several days or even weeks without water. Instead, they derive much of their hydration from moisture-rich leaves. When they do drink, they must awkwardly spread their legs and lower their necks, a vulnerable posture. Because of this vulnerability, giraffes usually drink in groups so others can watch for predators. They typically drink every few days, though frequency increases during hot, dry months. A giraffe may consume up to 10 gallons of water in one drinking session. Their efficiency at conserving water allows them to inhabit semi-arid savannas. Studies show that giraffes can regulate body temperature to minimize water loss, a process called heterothermy. This means their body temperature fluctuates slightly throughout the day to conserve energy. They can tolerate a range of internal temperatures from 34 degrees to 40 degrees, 93 degrees, 104 degrees without harm. Giraffes have been observed feeding selectively even among the same species of trees, choosing branches with higher nutrient density. Their feeding selectivity shapes the structure and regeneration of African woodlands. In regions where giraffes are overpopulated, excessive browsing can lead to giraffe browsing lines, visible high, points on trees where all leaves are eaten below a certain level. Such lines visually mark the ecological influence of giraffes. Giraffes use both visual and chemical cues to identify edible vegetation. They prefer new, tender leaves over mature, fibrous ones due to higher protein content. Leaf preference shifts seasonally. During dry seasons, they target species with higher water retention. Giraffes can consume plants that contain secondary metabolites toxic to other animals, like tannins and alkaloids. This tolerance stems from their specialized liver enzymes and gut flora. They use their lips and tongues to delicately remove leaves while avoiding thorns, often stripping them clean. Feeding rates vary with age, sex, and environmental conditions. Younger giraffes eat more frequently due to growth demands. Calves start browsing vegetation within a week of birth, though they continue nursing for 6 to 9 months. Lactating females consume more food to sustain milk production. Giraffes play a vital role in seed dispersal for many tree species. Seeds that pass through the digestive system often germinate better due to partial digestion of the seed coat. This mutualistic relationship enhances plant diversity and regeneration. Giraffes occasionally feed on fruits, particularly in the late dry season when other food sources decline. They have been recorded eating wild melons, pods, and even small branches when resources are scarce. Their flexible feeding strategy allows survival across various African habitats, from open savannas to dry woodlands. Giraffes' browsing height places them in a unique trophic niche, complementing other herbivores like elephants and impalas. Elephants often knock down trees, enabling giraffes to feed on fallen branches, while giraffes open up canopy gaps for smaller animals. This interspecies feeding dynamic maintains savanna biodiversity. Giraffes occasionally browse alongside kudu, eland, and impala, with minimal direct competition. Males often feed higher than females, while juveniles browse even lower, a clear example of niche partitioning. Their feeding habits also vary geographically. Maasai giraffes, for example, consume over 90 plant species, while reticulated giraffes prefer a narrower range. The acacia ant mutualism indirectly affects giraffes. When giraffes overbrowse, acacias increase in defense activity. These ants attack giraffes' sensitive lips, deterring further feeding. In areas where ant populations are low, giraffes browse more heavily. The feedback between trees, ants, and giraffes demonstrates the complex ecological web of the savanna. Giraffes' saliva neutralizes some plant toxins, allowing them to feed safely where others cannot. The alkaline pH of their saliva may also promote healing of minor mouth wounds from thorns. When feeding, giraffes often keep their necks moving rhythmically, possibly aiding digestion through gravitational assistance. Giraffes sometimes feed on the same tree for extended periods, revisiting it over several days. They are known to strip entire branches, leaving only twigs and bark. Giraffes have even been observed manipulating branches to reach inner foliage. Feeding groups may form temporarily around abundant food sources. These groups are loose and dynamic, changing in size and composition daily. Individuals within groups often maintain spacing to avoid competition. Giraffes spend a significant amount of time standing still while chewing cud. This behavior helps them digest fibrous plant material efficiently. Rumination occurs both while standing and lying down. They regurgitate partially digested cud into the mouth, chew it again, and swallow for further fermentation. The chewing motion is slow and methodical, visible even from a distance. During rumination, giraffes remain alert, frequently pausing to scan for predators. Studies indicate rumination efficiency increases during cooler temperatures. Giraffes can synchronize feeding patterns within herds. When one individual feeds, others nearby often do the same. This synchronization may reduce individual predation risk by increasing vigilance. Giraffes sometimes move in slow, deliberate browsing lines across landscapes, gradually covering large areas. Their feeding routes can span several kilometers daily. GPS tracking shows that giraffes have preferred feeding territories they revisit. Seasonally, these territories often overlap among individuals without aggressive conflict. Males, however, may defend key feeding sites during the breeding season. Dominant males gain priority access to prime foraging areas, indirectly improving reproductive success. Giraffes prefer habitats with a mix of tall trees and open ground for visibility. Overgrazing and deforestation threaten these preferred feeding zones. Loss of acacia trees due to human land use significantly impacts giraffe populations. In some areas, giraffes have adapted to feed on non-native tree species introduced by humans. Giraffes can adapt their diet to savanna degradation better than some other large herbivores. Nevertheless, loss of specific tree species can lead to nutritional deficiencies. Giraffes feeding directly influences carbon cycling by pruning and stimulating tree growth. Ecologists use giraffe browsing intensity as an indicator of ecosystem health in fenced reserves. Overbrowsing by giraffes can become problematic if populations are not managed. Controlled translocations and population monitoring help maintain ecological balance. Giraffes play an overlooked yet essential role in maintaining savanna vegetation diversity. Their selective feeding prevents certain plant species from dominating. This promotes habitat heterogeneity, benefiting both flora and fauna. Without giraffes, upper canopy trees would grow unchecked, altering savanna structure and light availability. Thus, giraffes are not just consumers, but active ecosystem engineers. Their feeding behavior exemplifies the intricate balance of adaptation, ecology, and mutualism that defines life on the African plains. Despite their towering height and seemingly awkward build, giraffes are graceful movers, adapted for both stability and speed across vast open landscapes. Their unique skeletal and muscular structures balance agility with strength, allowing efficient movement despite long limbs. Giraffes walk using a distinctive gait known as pacing, where both legs on the same side move forward simultaneously. This pacing gait is also seen in camels and gives giraffes a characteristic rocking motion when walking. The pacing gait minimizes lateral swaying of the body and helps maintain balance for the long neck. The neck acts as a counterbalance, swinging slightly opposite to the movement of the legs to stabilize the center of gravity. When accelerating, giraffes transition from a pacing walk to a gallop, during which their legs on each side move together in powerful strides. During a gallop, the forelegs land almost simultaneously, followed by the hind legs, propelling the body forward. Giraffes can reach top speeds of 56–60 kilometers per hour, about 35–37 samarums, for short bursts. However, they typically cruise comfortably at around 15 km/h, 99 mph, when escaping danger. Because of their long legs, each stride can cover up to 5 to 6 meters, 16 to 20 feet. Giraffes' leg bones are dense and heavy, providing stability rather than flexibility. The shoulder joint allows a wide range of motion, crucial for balance during walking and fighting. Their joints lock slightly when standing, enabling them to rest without expending much energy. This ability to stand at rest evolved to reduce vulnerability to predators while sleeping or ruminating. When bending to drink, giraffes splay their forelegs wide apart, creating a steep downward angle for the neck. This position is biomechanically challenging and increases vulnerability to predators. To rise from a kneeling position, giraffes push up with their powerful forelegs first, then the hind legs, the reverse of most quadrupeds. The muscles in their shoulders and upper limbs are disproportionately strong to lift their massive body. Giraffes' center of gravity is located slightly forward around the chest due to the long neck and heavy front limbs. This forward balance makes uphill climbing easier, but downhill movement more awkward. They can ascend moderate slopes with surprising ease, but prefer flat terrain. On rocky ground, they take shorter, more deliberate steps to maintain footing. Their large, rounded hooves distribute weight evenly, preventing sinking into soft soil. The hooves also serve as formidable weapons. Giraffes' kick can break a lion's skull or spine. Each leg can deliver a kick with over 2,000 pounds of force. Giraffes kick forward, sideways, and backward with precision. Females are especially adept at using kicks to defend calves. Giraffes' bones have a high degree of compactness, providing strength with minimal weight. The leg bones contain thick cortical bone, reducing the risk of fractures from falls. A giraffe's skeletal frame, despite being tall, is designed to withstand vertical stress efficiently. Their limb proportions create a pendulum-like motion that conserves energy while walking. Biomechanically, giraffes walk with very low energy expenditure relative to their size. They use elastic recoil in their tendons to assist movement, similar to how kangaroos conserve energy when hopping. The Achilles tendon stores elastic energy that propels the leg forward with minimal muscular effort. The shoulder muscles, including the deltoids and trapezius, anchor the neck and front limbs in coordinated motion. The cervical, neck muscles are exceptionally long, allowing flexibility without sacrificing strength. The nuchal ligament at the back of the neck acts as a spring, supporting the head's weight passively. This ligament stores energy during head lowering and releases it when the giraffe raises its head back up. The neck's mobility allows giraffes to browse trees efficiently and engage in combat. During necking battles, males use their necks like pendulums to deliver blows with the head and ossicones. These blows can generate enough force to knock opponents unconscious, or even kill them. Necking is both a physical contest and a ritualized display. The longer and heavier neck usually determines dominance. Young males engage in soft necking, sparring with light swings to practice technique. As they age, fights become more intense, often leaving scars and calluses. Males that win frequent necking bouts tend to achieve higher mating success. The evolution of long necks in males is partly attributed to sexual selection, not just feeding advantage. Female giraffes sometimes engage in necking too, but usually in mild, social contexts rather than aggression. The neck's rotation range is limited by vertebral structure, about 45 degrees to each side. Despite the long neck, the head remains remarkably stable during movement due to specialized joint alignment. The head and neck movement are coordinated with leg motion to maintain visual focus and body balance. Giraffes' tall stature makes them susceptible to strong wind pressure, but their flexible joints compensate for this. In windy conditions, they adopt slightly crouched postures to reduce drag. Giraffes' locomotion efficiency comes from a low stride, frequency but high stride length. Each step involves coordinated muscle contractions, from the shoulders down to the hooves. Their musculoskeletal system is optimized for endurance. They can travel over 30 kilometers per day in search of food. Despite their long stride, giraffes move quietly, producing minimal ground vibration. Their padded hooves and soft walking style help them avoid detection by predators. Giraffes' long necks create challenges for balance when running at full speed. To counteract neck momentum, they use a natural oscillation. The neck moves opposite to the body's sway. This pendulum effect maintains forward stability. The same motion assists in maintaining steady head elevation during high speed. Travel giraffes are generally poor jumpers. They cannot leap like most ungulates due to limb proportions. They rarely need to jump. Their height already provides a view over obstacles. Giraffes can, however, step over barriers up to 1 meter high without effort. Swimming is nearly impossible for giraffes because of their buoyancy distribution and limb length. Experiments and models show that giraffes would struggle to keep their heads above water when swimming. Their body density and long legs make aquatic locomotion energetically inefficient. Nonetheless, they can cross shallow rivers or marshy terrain if necessary. Giraffes' movement patterns are highly energy efficient, ideal for their slow-paced browsing lifestyle. They spend much of their day walking between feeding sites, conserving energy rather than running. When threatened, giraffes may flee, but rely more on early detection and distance than speed alone. Predators rarely chase adult giraffes unless they have a clear ambush advantage. Young giraffes, however, are more vulnerable and rely on sprinting and concealment for survival. The gait of a newborn giraffe is clumsy but stabilizes within hours of birth. Calves can walk within 30 minutes and run within 10 hours. An adaptation against predation. By 1 week of age, calves can match adults' walking pace over short distances. Giraffes' movement style minimizes muscular fatigue by harnessing gravitational and elastic forces. The long limbs act as mechanical levers that optimize stride energy output. Their step cycle includes a long stance phase where weight is transferred smoothly from one limb to another. The coordination between front and hind limbs is tightly synchronized by the spinal nerve. Network giraffes maintain an almost constant walking rhythm, adjusting only for terrain. In open plains, they walk in straight lines. In woodlands, they weave gracefully between trees. The biomechanical precision of their gait has inspired robotics research for tall, stable machines. Giraffe-inspired leg mechanisms are being studied for energy-efficient walking robots. Even their joint locking systems are models for prosthetic limb engineering. The elasticity in their tendons provides passive energy storage, reducing muscular work. Giraffes rarely show signs of exhaustion even after traveling long distances. They can walk continuously for several hours at a steady pace without rest. Unlike many animals, giraffes seldom pant. They regulate body heat through the neck's vascular system. The dark patches on their coats serve as thermal windows, releasing excess heat during movement. These thermal patches are rich in blood vessels and controlled by sphincter. Muscles heat regulation helps maintain muscular efficiency during long treks. Giraffes' tall posture also gives them an advantage in air cooling. They experience cooler breezes above ground level. This vertical temperature gradient further enhances endurance. Their movement between feeding zones also spreads seeds across wide ranges, aiding ecosystem connectivity. Giraffes' daily travel distance varies by habitat, but typically ranges from 3 to 15 kilometers. During droughts or seasonal migrations, they can travel over 50 kilometers in a single day. Their long-distance mobility ensures genetic mixing between populations when corridors are available. In every aspect of their movement, from walking to galloping, giraffes embody a blend of biomechanical efficiency and evolutionary elegance unmatched among terrestrial mammals. Giraffes have a complex reproductive system and social structure that revolves around dominance, courtship, and seasonal breeding opportunities. While giraffes can breed year-round, births often peak during the rainy season when food is abundant. The timing of births ensures that mothers have enough nutrition to produce milk and that calves grow during a period of plentiful vegetation. Female giraffes, called cows, reach sexual maturity between 3 and 5 years of age. Males, called bulls, typically reach sexual maturity around the same age, but often don't successfully breed until they are 7 to 8 years old. when they are strong enough to win dominance contests. Dominant males are identified by their darker coat colour, muscular necks, and more developed ossicones. Courtship begins when a male detects a female in estrus, fertile period, which occurs about every 2 weeks. The male determines fertility by performing the Flamen response, curling his upper lip to sample urine hormones with his vomeronasal organ. If the female is receptive, the male follows her persistently, engaging in mate-guarding behaviour to ward off rivals. He may nudge her rump, rub his neck along her back, or position himself protectively nearby. The mating ritual involves subtle body language, and actual copulation lasts only a few seconds. Males may travel long distances to find receptive females, particularly in dispersed populations. Female giraffes are polyestrous. They can come into heat multiple times a year if not pregnant. Once conception occurs, the gestation period lasts approximately 15 months, one of the longest among land. Mammals' gestation length can vary slightly depending on environmental conditions and maternal health. Giraffe pregnancies usually result in a single calf, though twins occur in about 1% of births. Twins, however, have a very low survival rate in the wild due to maternal limitations in nursing 2 calves. The fetus develops fully in an upright position, with the head oriented toward the mother's hind legs. Calving typically takes place in isolated, quiet areas for safety. Female giraffes give birth standing up, resulting in the newborn falling nearly 2 meters (6.5 feet) to the ground. This fall helps rupture the umbilical cord and stimulates the calf's first breath. Newborns weigh between 45 and 70 kilograms, 155 pounds, and stand about 1.8 meters (6 feet) tall. Calves can usually stand within 30 minutes of birth and walk within an hour. A crucial adaptation against predators. The mother immediately licks the calf clean and encourages it to nurse. Calf is nursed several times a day, consuming milk rich in fat and nutrients. Nursing sessions last only a few minutes but occur frequently. The calf recognizes its mother primarily through her scent and coat pattern. Within days, calves are introduced to nursery groups, known as creche, where multiple mothers leave their young under the supervision of one adult. This cooperative care system allows mothers to forage while maintaining collective vigilance. Calves in creches form early social bonds that persist into adulthood. Despite group protection, calf mortality remains high. Around 50% die within their first year, mostly due to predation by lions, hyenas, or leopards. Giraffe mothers are highly protective, often defending their calves with powerful kicks. They recognize their offspring even after long separations. Calves nurse for up to 6 to 9 months but begin sampling vegetation as early as 1 week old. Weaning is gradual, and mothers may continue to allow occasional nursing for comfort, even after full weaning. Female giraffes give birth approximately every 20-30 months, depending on environmental conditions. Reproductive intervals may be shorter in optimal conditions and longer during droughts. Females do not form lifelong pair bonds with males. Mating is opportunistic. Male reproductive success is determined by strength, experience, and dominance status. Bulls compete for mating rights through necking contests, sometimes lasting for hours. The victor of a necking battle typically gains access to females in estrus nearby. Subordinate. Males may mate opportunistically, while dominant males are distracted, older. Bulls tend to dominate breeding even though they become slower with age. Experience often outweighs pure strength. Giraffe copulation is brief and usually occurs multiple times over a short period. Males may guard receptive females for several days, preventing other males from approaching. Females are selective and may reject advances by walking away or using their tails to block the male. During gestation, pregnant females exhibit noticeable behavioral changes, including increased feeding and reduced travel distance. The fetus grows rapidly during the final trimester, developing strong legs and a fully formed coat pattern before birth. Coat patterns are genetically inherited but not identical to the mother's. Each calf's pattern is unique. Newborn giraffes' coats are lighter and softer than adults, darkening with age. Giraffe calves grow quickly, gaining about 1 centimeter, 0.4 inches in height per day during their first week. By 6 months, Calves may reach nearly 3 meters, 10 feet tall. Rapid growth helps reduce vulnerability to predators. Mothers invest heavily in calf care, remaining within visual range at nearly all times during the first few months. They use soft vocalizations and body cues to communicate with their calves. Giraffe milk is lower in fat than cow's milk, but rich in protein and essential nutrients. The composition of the milk adjusts over time to match the calf's growth needs. Calves begin ruminating, chewing cud by about 3 to 4 months of age. Juveniles form mixed age groups, learning social behaviors through play and imitation. Play behavior includes mock necking, running, and chasing, helping develop coordination and strength. Young males often engage in light sparring from as early as 6 months old. Female calves, in contrast, exhibit more social, grooming, and affiliative interactions. Giraffes reach about 50% of their adult height by 1 year and full height by 4 to 5 years. Growth rates slow dramatically after sexual maturity. Lifespan in the wild averages 20-25 years, though some individuals have lived over 30 years in captivity. Captive giraffes live longer due to reduced predation and veterinary care. Females tend to live longer than males, partly due to the latter's high-risk fighting behavior. Giraffe reproductive organs are proportionate to their body size. Males possess one of the longest penises relative to height in mammals. The penis can measure up to 1 meter, 3.3 feet, in length and is used with precision. During brief copulation, the female reproductive tract is similarly elongated, with specialized musculature to support large fetuses. Giraffe placentas are diffuse. Nutrients are exchanged across a broad surface area. Calving intervals can lengthen if the environment is harsh or food is scarce. Females may delay reproduction until conditions improve, an adaptive reproductive strategy. In social groups, dominant females often produce more surviving offspring. Calves learn behaviors like feeding, vigilance, and social interaction by observing adults. Mother-calf bonds are strong for up to 18 months. Even after weaning, females may reunite with adult daughters later in life, suggesting kin recognition. Genetic studies show that giraffe herds often contain related females but unrelated males. Males disperse from their natal groups at about 3 to 4 years old to avoid inbreeding. Dispersal males form bachelor herds, where they engage in social ranking and practice necking. These bachelor groups are semi-nomadic and play a crucial role in gene flow between populations. Dominance hierarchies within bachelor groups are established through consistent sparring outcomes. The strongest males eventually leave bachelor groups to pursue solitary roaming in search of females. Mature bulls tend to be more solitary, only joining female herds for mating opportunities. Females, by contrast, form loose, stable social groups centered around kinship and calves. The reproductive output of a female across her lifetime depends heavily on survival rates of calves. Predation pressure, habitat quality, and disease are key factors influencing reproductive success. In protected reserves, giraffe birth rates are typically higher due to reduced predation. However, overpopulation in enclosed reserves can lead to resource competition and lower fertility. Giraffes exhibit little seasonality in sexual behavior, though rainfall patterns indirectly regulate population. Dynamics hormone studies show that testosterone levels in males spike during breeding peaks. Dominant bulls have higher testosterone concentrations than subordinates. Females produce pheromonal cues detectable by males over long distances. During courtship, males may perform low-frequency vocalizations to communicate dominance. Mating success correlates strongly with physical condition, neck size, and prior fighting success. Reproductive behavior thus reinforces the evolutionary pressure for taller, stronger males. Giraffes' slow reproduction and long gestation make them particularly vulnerable to population decline. Conservationists monitor birth rates and calf survival as indicators of ecosystem health. Understanding giraffe reproduction is crucial for breeding programs and maintaining genetic diversity from conception to adulthood. Every stage of giraffe development reflects a delicate balance between adaptation, survival, and social complexity. Hallmarks of one of nature's most remarkable mammals. Giraffes are often described as silent giants, but in reality, they possess a surprisingly diverse range of communication methods: visual, tactile, chemical, and even vocal. For decades, Scientists believe giraffes were mute, as their vocalizations are infrequent and mostly outside human hearing range. Modern acoustic studies have revealed that giraffes communicate using infrasonic sounds, vibrations below 20 Hz that can travel long distances. These infrasonic hums are used primarily at night, possibly to maintain herd cohesion when visibility is low. In captivity, giraffes have been recorded producing low-frequency humming tones that may indicate contact calls or emotional states. They also produce short grunts, snorts and hisses, particularly during conflict or alarm. Mothers and calves use soft bleats or moans for close-range communication, helping them stay in contact in dense vegetation. Calves emit louder calls when distressed, prompting immediate maternal attention. During courtship, males sometimes make deep cough-like sounds while approaching receptive females. Necking males produce audible groans and snorts, signaling exertion or aggression. Although giraffes lack complex vocal cords like elephants or primates, their laryngeal anatomy supports a wide frequency range. Visual communication plays an equally vital role. Posture, neck angle, and movement convey intentions and social status. A raised head and erect neck signal alertness or mild dominance, while lowering the neck can indicate submission or readiness to fight. Tail movement is another expressive cue. Rapid flicking often denotes agitation or irritation. Ears are rotated forward when attentive and laid back during aggression. Eye contact between giraffes is brief. Prolonged staring can be perceived as a threat. Olfactory cues are crucial, especially in reproductive and maternal behavior. Giraffes use scent marking less than many mammals but rely heavily on urine and fecal chemical signals. Males sample female urine to detect fertility through pheromones. Scent can also convey individual identity and reproductive status. Tactile communication is seen in grooming and gentle neck rubbing, especially between related females. Mothers nuzzle calves frequently, reinforcing bonds through touch. Giraffe social structures are fission-fusion systems, meaning herd composition changes fluidly throughout the day. Herds can range from a few individuals to over 50, depending on season and resource availability. There is no permanent hierarchy or leadership structure. Social interactions are flexible and non-territorial. Females form the core of social groups, often composed of mothers, daughters, and calves. Male giraffes tend to be more solitary or form small bachelor groups. Social cohesion among females provides mutual protection and cooperative calf rearing. Within herds, individuals often form long-term social bonds, particularly among related females. Social networks are maintained through frequent proximity and coordinated movement. Unlike many mammals, giraffes do not exhibit strong territoriality. Their home ranges overlap extensively. Male ranges are generally larger than female ranges and can exceed 200 square kilometers. Female home ranges average around 50-100 square kilometers, centered around feeding and calving sites. Range size varies by habitat productivity and water availability. Giraffes travel within these ranges following seasonal shifts in vegetation. Their movement patterns are influenced by rainfall, which determines the abundance of leafy trees. Despite overlapping ranges, individuals maintain consistent social distance, typically keeping 1 to 3 meters apart unless interacting. Physical contact is mostly limited to grooming, mating, or play. Giraffes' grooming behavior targets hard to reach areas using their long necks and tongues. They often lick themselves to remove ticks and parasites. Oxpecker birds frequently assist by feeding on parasites from the giraffe's skin and wounds. This symbiotic relationship benefits both species. The birds gain food, while giraffes receive cleaning. Giraffes tolerate oxpeckers calmly, though they may shake them off when irritated. Mutualistic relationships like this highlight giraffes' integration into broader savanna ecosystems. Social behaviors vary between sexes. Females prioritize cooperation, while males focus on competition and dominance. Female groups display strong social memory, recognizing individuals even after long separations. They use visual cues and scent recognition to identify familiar giraffes. Males, especially solitary bulls, engage in transient social interactions primarily related to mating opportunities. Young males often form bachelor herds where they spar and develop social skills. Hierarchies within bachelor groups are fluid, based on size, age, and necking outcomes. Necking between young males serves both as practice and as a non-lethal method of establishing rank. Aggressive necking bouts between mature males can be intense, involving heavy swings that produce audible impacts. Fights may last several minutes or end quickly when one male concedes by retreating. Severe injuries, including broken jaws and neck vertebrae, can occur but are rare. After a contest, dominance is respected without ongoing aggression. Winning males often assume a proud, upright posture and may browse higher as a visual display of strength. Social dominance directly influences reproductive access and feeding priority. Despite competition, giraffes rarely engage in sustained violence. Their conflicts are ritualized rather than deadly. Females display social tolerance, often feeding side by side without aggression. Calves socialize through play, developing coordination and strength for adult life. Play behavior includes mock chasing, jumping, and head tossing. These activities also reinforce social bonds among juveniles. Giraffes express curiosity by approaching unfamiliar objects cautiously, extending their necks and sniffing before contact. Their cautious nature reduces risk in unpredictable environments. In captivity, giraffes exhibit similar behavioral patterns, showing curiosity toward enrichment items like hanging branches or puzzle feeders. They display advanced problem solving, manipulating locks or feeding devices with their tongues. Giraffes' cognitive abilities suggest high adaptability to changing environments. Field studies indicate they have excellent spatial memory, remembering locations of food sources over long distances. They also recognize safe pathways, avoiding areas associated with past predation events. Giraffes demonstrate selective vigilance. Females with calves are more alert than non-reproductive individuals. Vigilance. Behavior often alternates within groups, allowing others to feed while one keeps watch. When alarmed, giraffes freeze momentarily, then stare in the direction of potential danger. If the threat persists, they may flee at full speed, using their long stride to escape. Alarm postures include raised heads, forward-pointing ears, and focused gazes. Vocal alarm calls are rare, but can include snorts or low. Grunts. Giraffes rely primarily on visual cues to alert others to danger. Other herbivores often interpret giraffe body language as an early warning system. Giraffes also exhibit social learning. Younger individuals observe and imitate adult behaviors. They learn feeding techniques, predator avoidance, and navigation routes through experience. Social cohesion is maintained through constant awareness and visual tracking of herd members. Even in large groups, giraffes orient themselves to maintain line-of-sight contact. Herds often move in loose formations, following leading individuals toward feeding zones. Movement coordination relies more on collective awareness than hierarchy. Females with calves typically occupy central positions in herds for protection. Adult males move more peripherally, acting as sentinels. During extreme droughts, social groups may fragment temporarily to reduce competition. They reunite once vegetation recovers. Social relationships among females can last many years, sometimes spanning generations' kinship. Studies reveal that female giraffes preferentially associate with maternal relatives. These matrilineal bonds mirror social patterns seen in elephants and dolphins. Social grooming strengthens bonds and may reduce stress through endorphin release. In captivity, giraffes often form preferred associations, spending more time near familiar individuals. Social stability contributes to emotional well-being, even in managed populations. Aggression in giraffes is rare, but may occur in crowded or resource-limited conditions. In such cases, individuals use body posturing or mild head swings to assert dominance rather than full physical conflict. Giraffes exhibit distinct personalities. Some individuals are consistently bolder, while others remain cautious and reserved. Personality differences influence leadership roles in group movement decisions. Giraffes also exhibit empathy-like behaviors, such as remaining near injured or dying herd members. Observations of mourning-like behavior suggest emotional complexity not often attributed to ungulates. Altogether, Giraffe communication and social behavior form a nuanced system of cooperation, hierarchy, and cognition, revealing a species as socially intricate as it is physically extraordinary. Giraffes are native exclusively to Africa and are distributed across diverse ecosystems, ranging from open savannas to dense woodlands. Historically, their range extended across much of sub-Saharan Africa, but today it has become fragmented due to human expansion and habitat loss. Giraffes currently inhabit 15 African countries, with the largest populations found in Tanzania, Kenya, Botswana, and Namibia, smaller. Isolated populations exist in Chad, Niger, and parts of Central and West Africa. Giraffes avoid dense rainforests and arid deserts, preferring habitats with a mix of tall trees and open plains for visibility. The key ecological requirement for giraffes is access to browsing trees, especially acacias and related species. Their distribution correlates closely with the presence of these tree species. Giraffes are highly adaptable and can survive in regions with annual rainfall ranging from 250 mm to over 1,500 mm. They thrive in both semi-arid savannas and moist woodland environments. In wetter regions, giraffes often occupy the edges of forests where sunlight supports abundant undergrowth. In drier regions, they follow seasonal migrations to track leaf availability. Seasonal movement patterns are often subtle and guided by rainfall and plant phenology rather than temperature. Giraffes' long legs enable them to traverse great distances across savannas in search of food and water. They are considered non-territorial nomads, though individuals maintain defined home ranges. Male home ranges overlap widely with those of multiple females, facilitating breeding opportunities. Range size varies by habitat productivity. In resource-rich areas, ranges may be as small as 30 square kilometers. In dry regions, they can exceed 400 square kilometers. Giraffes' spatial memory allows them to remember specific feeding trees and water sources for years. GPS tracking shows that individuals return to the same trees seasonally when new leaves appear. Giraffes' movements help disperse seeds and nutrients, linking ecosystems across large landscapes. Because of their browsing behavior, they are sometimes called landscape architects of the savanna. By pruning tree canopies, they encourage new growth and maintain habitat structure for other species. Giraffes are most active during early morning and late afternoon, resting in shade during midday heat. They often rest beneath trees that provide both shelter and browse material. During the night, giraffes may continue feeding under moonlight, aided by their excellent night vision. Their eyes are adapted to low light conditions with a high density of rod cells in the retina. Temperature regulation is a major aspect of giraffe adaptation to open, sun-exposed habitats. Their tall stature exposes them to cooler, more consistent breezes at higher altitudes above the ground. The dark patches on their coats act as thermal windows, releasing heat through networks of blood vessels underneath. Each dark patch functions like a miniature radiator, controlled by muscular sphincters that regulate blood flow. This vascular control allows giraffes to fine-tune body temperature across different regions of the skin. Giraffes can tolerate daily body temperature fluctuations of up to 3 degrees C without physiological stress. This adaptation, known as heterothermy, helps them conserve water by reducing the need for sweating. Sweating is minimal in giraffes. They rely primarily on heat exchange through skin and respiration. Their light-colored coats reflect sunlight, while the patterning breaks up visual outlines in shimmering heat. Giraffes' tall, narrow body shape also minimizes surface area exposed directly to the sun at midday. In cold climates, giraffes reduce peripheral blood flow to retain core heat. In the Kalahari and southern regions, giraffes have slightly denser coats for warmth during cold nights. Conversely, in equatorial regions, their coats are thinner and paler to aid cooling. Giraffes' ability to adjust blood flow and metabolism seasonally allows them to thrive in varied environments. They are among the few large herbivores capable of enduring extended droughts without direct water intake. This is due to efficient water conservation through their kidneys and behaviorally reduced activity during extreme heat. When necessary, giraffes drink cautiously, often choosing waterholes with good visibility. They approach water slowly, scanning for predators before spreading their legs to drink. Drinking sessions are brief, usually less than 30 seconds. to minimize vulnerability. Giraffes can go weeks without drinking if leafy browse is available. In dry seasons, they may feed on species with high moisture content, like Vachelia tortilis. Their diet shifts seasonally depending on leaf flush, ensuring nutritional balance. In arid areas, giraffes sometimes feed on drought-resistant shrubs and succulents. Their gut microbes adjust gradually to changing plant chemistry across seasons. This microbial flexibility is one reason giraffes inhabit such a wide ecological range. In savanna ecosystems, giraffes occupy the uppermost feeding niche, above elephants and antelope. This vertical feeding stratification minimizes interspecies competition. Elephants and giraffes often share ranges, with elephants consuming lower branches and giraffes feeding higher. Giraffes' foraging routes frequently intersect with migratory herbivores like zebras and wildebeests. These associations offer indirect safety benefits, as mixed species groups improve predator detection. Giraffes rely heavily on sight rather than smell to locate food, using visual cues from tree density and leaf color. They have exceptional long-distance vision, able to identify potential feeding zones from several kilometers away. The tall vantage point gives them a panoramic view of the landscape, helping detect predators and other herds. Giraffes prefer habitats that offer both feeding height diversity and open visibility for safety. Dense woodlands limit movement and increase predation risk, which is why giraffes avoid them. However, some subspecies like the Kordofan giraffe have adapted to more wooded habitats in Central Africa. These populations browse closer to the ground and are more elusive than savanna-dwelling giraffes. The West African giraffe, found mainly in Niger, survives in semi-arid habitats with sparse tree cover. These giraffes depend on human-managed woodlands for food and shelter. Conservation programs in Niger have successfully expanded their range by replanting acacia trees. Giraffes also inhabit riverine forests, floodplains, and mopan woodlands across southern Africa. In such areas, seasonal flooding influences their movement and feeding cycles. Giraffes avoid swamps and thick reeds, as these limit visibility and movement. In northern Kenya, reticulated giraffes inhabit dry scrublands where rainfall is erratic. These giraffes can endure harsh droughts through physiological and behavioral water conservation. In mountainous regions like Ethiopia's Omo Valley, giraffes browse along slopes up to 2,000 meters above sea level. High-altitude giraffes exhibit slightly thicker coats and smaller body size for thermoregulation. Giraffes' adaptability allows them to persist across extreme temperature gradients from 5 degrees to 45 degrees C. Their long legs and elevated circulation reduce heat transfer from hot ground surfaces. Dust and sandstorms are common challenges in arid regions, but giraffes' closable nostrils protect their respiratory system. They also use their long eyelashes and nictitating membranes to shield eyes from debris. During heavy rain, giraffes often stand motionless, with their necks angled downward to minimize water exposure. Thunderstorms can cause temporary agitation. They become alert and group tightly for safety. Giraffes' reliance on trees makes them sensitive to habitat degradation caused by logging and charcoal production. Habitat fragmentation due to roads and agriculture isolates giraffe populations, reducing genetic exchange. Corridors connecting wildlife reserves are essential to maintaining healthy giraffe gene flow. Protected areas such as Serengeti, Kruger, and Etosha National Parks harbor some of the world's largest giraffe populations. However, many giraffes also live outside parks on community lands, coexisting with livestock and humans. Human-wildlife conflict arises mainly from competition for trees and land, not direct predation. In some regions, giraffes help tourism economies, creating incentives for their protection. Giraffes' adaptability to human presence is high. They can thrive near villages if not hunted. Nonetheless, poaching for meat and hides remains a major threat in some countries. Climate change further pressures giraffes by altering rainfall patterns and vegetation zones. Shifts in acacia distribution can force giraffes to move into less suitable habitats. Some populations have adapted to seasonal extremes by altering reproductive timing. Drought conditions may delay conception or increase calf mortality. Conservationists monitor population movements using satellite collars to assess habitat use. Data from these studies guide the Creation of migration corridors and protected landscapes. In northern Namibia, giraffes have been documented walking over 50 kilometers in a single night to reach seasonal feeding zones. This long-distance mobility underscores their resilience and ecological importance. Giraffes' ability to survive in diverse environments makes them key indicators of ecosystem health. Healthy giraffe populations often reflect well-balanced savanna ecosystems with intact predator-prey dynamics. Conversely, declining giraffe numbers usually signal habitat degradation or ecological imbalance. Their adaptability is both their strength and their vulnerability. While they can adjust to changing environments, they depend on vast connected landscapes to thrive. Ultimately, the giraffe's survival across Africa's diverse biomes showcases the remarkable versatility of evolution's tallest masterpiece. Despite their size and strength, giraffes face several natural predators, particularly when they are young or vulnerable while drinking. The main predators of giraffes are lions, which are capable of taking down even adult individuals under coordinated attack. Lions usually target the legs, bringing giraffes down by pulling at their hindquarters or tripping them during a chase. Adult giraffes, however, are formidable opponents. A single well-aimed kick can kill or severely injure a lion. Because of this, lions typically prefer hunting giraffe calves or weaker adults. Hyenas, leopards, and African wild dogs occasionally prey on young giraffes but rarely attack healthy adults. Crocodiles can ambush giraffes when they bend to drink at rivers or waterholes. Predation risk is highest when giraffes lower their heads to drink, as it restricts their ability to see or react quickly. To mitigate this, giraffes approach water cautiously, scanning the area for several minutes before drinking. They often drink in groups, with some individuals keeping watch while others lower their heads. This cooperative vigilance significantly reduces predation risk. Giraffes' extraordinary height and excellent eyesight give them a powerful, early warning system. They can spot predators from over a kilometer away and respond before danger approaches. Other herbivores, such as zebras and antelopes, rely on giraffes' alert behavior to detect predators early. Giraffes' keen senses of sight, hearing, and smell work together to maintain constant awareness. Their large eyes provide a wide field of vision, covering almost 360 degrees horizontally. Positioned high above the ground, their eyes offer a panoramic view of the landscape, one of the best vantage points in the animal kingdom. The retina is dominated by rod cells, giving giraffes excellent low-light vision, useful for nocturnal vigilance. They can see in color, although their color perception is less saturated than humans. Giraffes are believed to detect movement far more effectively than static objects, an adaptation. For spotting predators, their elevated vision also aids in social coordination, as they can see other giraffes miles away. Giraffes' long eyelashes protect their eyes from dust, debris, and acacia thorns during feeding. The cornea and eyelids are adapted to filter glare, allowing vision in intense sunlight. The eyes are set laterally, giving them near panoramic coverage but creating a small blind spot directly behind the body. To compensate for this blind spot, giraffes frequently turn their heads to scan all directions. Their vision is estimated to be as sharp as that of an eagle when adjusted for distance. Giraffes rely more on visual scanning than on fleeing immediately. When a predator is spotted, they often freeze to assess the threat. If the predator continues approaching, they typically move away at a steady walk rather than a panicked run. Only when the danger becomes imminent do they gallop, capable of reaching speeds exceeding 55 km/h, 34 mph. Giraffes' long stride makes it difficult for most predators to match their pace in open terrain. Their primary defense, however, is not flight but the power of their legs. The front legs are particularly deadly, capable of striking in multiple directions with extreme accuracy. The impact of a giraffe's kick can generate enough force to crush a skull or rib cage. Females instinctively position themselves between predators and their calves, facing the threat and kicking if necessary. Calves, when threatened, crouch low to the ground to reduce visibility. Mothers often remain nearby, circling their offspring until the danger passes. In herds, giraffes may align themselves to face the same direction during threats, enhancing group vigilance. This synchronized awareness allows rapid collective response to predators. Giraffes rely heavily on open habitats where visibility gives them an advantage. In denser areas, they are more cautious and may limit movement to daylight hours. Predation rates on adults are extremely low. Less than 1% of natural deaths in most populations are due to predators. For calves, however, the mortality rate can exceed 50% in the first year. Predators like lions and hyenas often target nurseries, where calves gather in groups. To counter this, mothers take turns guarding the nursery group, while others forage nearby. This communal vigilance is essential for calf survival in predator-rich ecosystems. Giraffe calves are quick learners. By 2 weeks old, they can detect and react to predators independently. They often imitate their mother's alarm responses, a form of learned behavior. When startled, calves run in bursts and seek cover behind bushes or adults. Predators typically attack during night or early dawn when visibility is lower. Giraffes' nocturnal vigilance and strong night vision are thus vital survival traits. In the wild, adult males face fewer predation threats, but may suffer injuries from intraspecific combat. Serious wounds from necking fights can weaken males, making them more vulnerable to predators. Parasites also pose a subtle but persistent threat, including ticks and internal worms. Giraffes use grooming and symbiotic birds to manage parasites, but infestations can still cause disease. Their thick skin acts as a natural barrier against insect bites. The skin's sebaceous glands secrete antimicrobial oils that protect against infection. This secretion gives giraffes their distinct musky odor, which may also deter parasites. In extremely hot or arid conditions, giraffes employ behavioral thermoregulation to avoid overheating. They rest during midday, often in the shade of trees or on breezy ridges. Giraffes rarely lie down, except in secure environments, as standing provides a rapid escape advantage. When they do rest lying down, they tuck their legs under the body and curl the neck back, resting the head on the rump. This resting position minimizes exposure but leaves them momentarily vulnerable. Standing sleep allows them to remain alert while entering brief rest cycles. Their ability to sleep for only minutes at a time reduces predation. Risk-dark camouflage also contributes to giraffe survival. Their patchy coat blends with the light and shadow of trees. The coat's irregular pattern disrupts body outline, making them less visible to predators at a distance. Calves have lighter coats that blend well with dry grass and scrub, enhancing concealment. Giraffes' quiet nature also aids in avoiding detection. They make minimal noise while walking or feeding. Even during alarm, they prefer silent withdrawal over vocal commotion. If cornered, however, giraffes can produce loud, bellowing roars, a rarely heard but powerful defense sound. Giraffes display remarkable resilience to injury. Broken bones and deep wounds often heal with minimal complications. Their blood clotting ability is efficient, preventing fatal bleeding from superficial cuts. Thick skin layers and rapid tissue regeneration promote recovery from injuries sustained during fights or predation attempts. Disease is a natural mortality factor, but giraffes exhibit strong immune systems adapted to savanna pathogens. They are, however, susceptible to diseases such as rinderpest and anthrax, transmitted by livestock in overlapping ranges. Veterinary studies in captive giraffes have provided insight into disease prevention for wild populations. Infections are relatively rare due to their high circulation and skin defense mechanisms. Lightning strikes are an occasional but notable risk, given their height in open plains. To reduce exposure, giraffes often seek lower terrain or tree cover during thunderstorms. Extreme droughts pose another significant challenge, affecting food availability and water access. Giraffes endure drought by increasing feeding hours at night when leaves retain moisture. They may also shift diet to species that remain green longer. Like balanites aegyptiaca, physiologically, they reduce water loss through concentrated urine and dry feces. Their kidneys are highly efficient, allowing survival with minimal free water intake. In prolonged droughts, weaker individuals may die of malnutrition rather than thirst. Giraffes' population resilience depends on the balance between reproduction and predation rates. In stable ecosystems, adult survival compensates for high juvenile mortality. Human threats, however, have become a major survival factor. Habitat loss. Poaching and fragmentation have reduced wild populations by nearly 30% in the past 40 years. Poaching for meat, hides and tails is particularly severe in conflict zones. Giraffe tails are used in traditional jewelry and ceremonial fly whisks in several African cultures. Conservation. Programs combat these threats through community education and anti-poaching patrols. Reintroduction. Projects have successfully restored giraffes to former ranges in Niger, Uganda, and Malawi. Survival strategies now include coexistence with human-managed landscapes through ecotourism incentives, protected areas with enforced anti-poaching. Laws have seen population recoveries. Translocation. Moving giraffes to safer regions is an increasingly common conservation method. Satellite tracking ensures relocated individuals adapt successfully to new environments. In the long term, genetic diversity is vital for survival. Inbreeding within isolated populations can weaken resilience. Conservation. Breeding programs maintain genetic variation among captive and reintroduced herds. The combined natural and human-driven survival strategies of giraffes highlight the species' adaptability, but also its dependence on human stewardship for future stability. From predator evasion to drought endurance, giraffes embody one of evolution's most versatile blueprints for survival in Africa's challenging ecosystems. Humans have interacted with giraffes for thousands of years, from ancient admiration to modern conservation. Rock paintings across the Sahara, dated over 8,000 years old, depict giraffes as revered animals, suggesting deep cultural significance. These depictions are especially common in the giraffe rock engravings of Niger, indicating their former abundance across North Africa. Ancient Egyptians also held giraffes in high esteem, featuring them in temple art and trading them from sub-Saharan Africa as exotic gifts. Giraffes were known to ancient Romans and Greeks, who called them camelopardalis, meaning camel leopard. The name referenced their long neck and spotted coat, a combination of features resembling those two animals. The first known giraffe to reach Europe was presented to Julius Caesar in 46 BCE during a Roman triumph. In medieval times, giraffes were prized by royalty and often gifted between empires to display wealth and diplomacy. The most famous example was the giraffe sent from Egypt to Lorenzo de' Medici in 1486, which became a symbol of the Renaissance's curiosity about nature. In the 19th century, a young giraffe named Zarafa was gifted from Muhammad Ali of Egypt to King Charles VI of France. Zarafa captivated Europe, inspiring fashion trends, songs, and public fascination. Effectively the first celebrity animal. Early European explorers often documented giraffes in their journals, describing them as gentle and majestic creatures. Unfortunately, 19th century colonial hunting and habitat disruption severely reduced giraffe numbers. Giraffe hides were used for shields, rugs, and clothing, while their tails were fashioned into fly whisks or jewelry. Indigenous African cultures have long incorporated giraffes into mythology, symbolism, and storytelling. Among the San people of southern Africa, giraffes symbolize foresight and intuition. In Tanzanian folklore, the giraffe represents patience and grace, qualities admired by many. Tribes, some African communities, view giraffes as spiritual messengers linking the earth and sky because of their towering stature. Traditional dances and carvings in Kenya and Niger often feature giraffe motifs to honor this connection. Giraffe bones and hides were once used in traditional medicine, believed to cure ailments or provide strength. In modern Africa, giraffes are both cultural icons and economic assets through ecotourism. Safari tourism contributes significantly to the conservation of giraffes by giving local communities economic incentives to protect wildlife. Countries like Kenya, Tanzania, and Namibia rely heavily on wildlife tourism, with giraffes among the Big 9 attractions after the classic Big 5. Tourists are drawn to giraffes' serene demeanor and photogenic appearance, making them ideal ambassadors for conservation. Despite this popularity, giraffe populations declined silently for decades, leading conservationists to call it the silent extinction. Between 1985 and 2015, wild giraffe numbers dropped from about 155,000 to fewer than 100,000. The decline was largely due to habitat loss. poaching and civil unrest in several African nations, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, now classifies the giraffe as vulnerable overall. Some subspecies, like the Kordofan and Nubian giraffes, are listed as critically endangered. Others, such as the Angolan giraffe, have recovered significantly thanks to conservation action. Conservation efforts focus on habitat restoration, anti-poaching enforcement, and genetic monitoring. The Giraffe Conservation Foundation, GCF, is the world's only NGO dedicated solely to giraffe. Conservation.gcf collaborates with African governments and local communities to conduct surveys and promote awareness. DNA research has revealed 4 genetically distinct giraffe species, reshaping conservation priorities. These are the northern giraffe, Giraffa camelopardalis, the southern giraffe, Giraffa giraffa, the Maasai giraffe, Giraffa tipalskirchi, and the reticulated giraffe, Giraffa reticulata. Recognizing them as separate species emphasizes the urgency of protecting smaller, more isolated populations. For example, fewer than 2,000 Kordofan giraffes remain in Central Africa. In contrast, southern giraffes in Namibia and Botswana number over 50,000, a conservation success story. Community-based conservation programs have been key to these successes. In Namibia, conservancies allow local people to benefit directly from protecting giraffes through tourism and controlled land use. Anti-poaching patrols managed by these communities have drastically reduced illegal hunting. The involvement of indigenous groups ensures that conservation aligns with cultural and economic needs. Education initiatives teach children and adults the ecological importance of giraffes. Reforestation projects restore browsing habitats lost to overgrazing or charcoal production. Giraffes also benefit indirectly from elephant conservation, as both species depend on similar habitats. Research using satellite collars has revolutionized understanding of giraffe movement and habitat use. Tracking data show that giraffes travel across borders, highlighting the need for transnational conservation corridors. One example is the Kavango-Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area, CAZA, which spans 5 countries. Such mega conservation landscapes support genetic diversity and migration routes essential to giraffe. Survival giraffe relocation programs have been used to repopulate areas where they were extinct for decades. These translocations require careful planning to avoid inbreeding and ensure sufficient resources. Veterinary teams monitor giraffes' health before and after relocation, checking for parasites and stress indicators. Giraffes are surprisingly calm during transport, often sedated mildly for safety. Reintroduction programs in Uganda's Murchison Falls National Park have restored stable populations. After years of poaching, captive breeding has also played a role in maintaining genetic reservoirs, particularly in zoos with coordinated exchange programs. The European and North American zoo associations maintain stud books to prevent inbreeding. However, captivity cannot replace wild conservation. Its primary value lies in education and research. Zoo-based research has improved understanding of giraffe reproduction, diet, and behavior, benefiting wild management. Public engagement in giraffe conservation has grown through social media and documentaries. Campaigns like Stand Tall for Giraffes have raised global awareness about their declining numbers. Conservationists stress that giraffes are not only iconic but ecologically vital. They shape vegetation patterns across Africa. The loss of giraffes would disrupt entire ecosystems dependent on their browsing and seed dispersal. Economically, giraffes generate millions of dollars annually through tourism. Sustainable wildlife tourism thus serves both environmental and economic purposes. Community rangers trained in eco-guiding now act as educators and protectors of giraffes. Conservation photography and citizen science initiatives enable global participation in monitoring giraffe populations. For example, the Twigger Tracker program uses AI image recognition to identify individual giraffes from photographs. This allows non-invasive population tracking based on unique coat patterns. Modern conservation increasingly integrates technology. Drones, GPS collars, and genetic barcoding all play roles in monitoring. Poaching, though reduced, still occurs for bushmeat and traditional uses. Giraffe meat is consumed in some rural regions, but awareness campaigns are changing attitudes. In conflict zones, giraffes may be killed for food by displaced communities or armed groups. International cooperation is crucial to addressing such challenges through stability and livelihood. Programs. Habitat fragmentation remains a significant concern, as roads and fences block migratory routes. Collisions with vehicles occasionally kill giraffes, particularly near roads crossing national parks. Wildlife underpasses and corridors are being developed to mitigate this issue. Climate change introduces new challenges, including shifts in vegetation zones and increased drought frequency. Adaptive management, adjusting protection strategies based on new data, is vital to long-term conservation success. Genetic studies show that small, isolated giraffe populations are at risk of reduced fertility due to inbreeding. Translocating individuals between populations can restore genetic diversity. Community outreach programs emphasize giraffes' role in African heritage and identity. Cultural festivals, art exhibitions, and educational tours now celebrate giraffes as symbols of harmony and balance. Giraffes appear on national emblems, currency, and postage stamps in several African countries. Their image has become a global symbol of grace and peace. Giraffes are featured in children's literature, films, and conservation campaigns worldwide. Their friendly and majestic appearance makes them powerful ambassadors for wildlife protection. In zoos, giraffes often serve as flagship species for African savanna exhibits. Many visitors report giraffes as the most memorable animals due to their calm demeanor and close feeding interactions. Giraffe feeding decks in modern zoos provide educational encounters that foster empathy and awareness. Giraffes. Conservation success depends on maintaining both public interest and scientific research funding. The future of giraffe. Conservation lies in landscape-level management, protecting not just individuals but the ecosystems they sustain. Grassroots organizations, local leaders, and international NGOs must collaborate for effective outcomes. Programs that link conservation with community welfare, like crop protection, education, and water access, have proven most sustainable. Success stories from Namibia, Kenya, and Niger show that human coexistence with giraffes is achievable. The creation of giraffe reserves and rewilding projects continues to expand protected habitats. In 2020, the IUCN officially recognized giraffes as 4 separate species, marking a turning point for tailored conservation planning. Ongoing monitoring ensures that population trends are updated and interventions adjusted. Giraffes, once overlooked compared to elephants and rhinos, are finally gaining the conservation attention they deserve. Their future now depends on continued vigilance, habitat preservation, and cross-border cooperation among nations. The story of giraffes and humans, from ancient reverence to modern conservation, reflects both our destructive and redemptive potential as stewards of Earth's tallest creatures. The tallest giraffe ever reliably recorded was a male named Forrest from Australia Zoo, standing 588 metres, 19.3 feet. Tall Forrest was officially recognised by Guinness World Records in 2021 as the world's tallest living giraffe. Wild male giraffes can reach similar heights, though individuals above 5.5 metres are rare. Female giraffes are generally smaller, averaging around 4.3 metres, 14 feet tall. Despite their immense size, giraffes weigh surprisingly little relative to their height. Males average 1,200 kilograms, 2,600 pounds. Females weigh around 800 kilograms, 1,760 pounds, which is comparable to a small car. Giraffes have the largest heart-to-body ratio of any land mammal. Their heart is about 60 centimeters and 2 feet long and weighs up to 11 kilograms, 25 pounds. The giraffe's heart generates twice the blood pressure of a human's to pump blood up its neck. This high-pressure system inspired research into hypertension. Treatments for humans. The skin of giraffe legs contains tight connective tissue, similar to compression stockings, preventing swelling. Another medical inspiration. Engineers have studied giraffe necks to design more efficient cranes and periscopic systems. NASA scientists once examined giraffe circulation to understand how astronauts' bodies react to gravity changes. A giraffe's tongue can grow up to 45 centimeters, 18 inches, long enough to lick its own ears. The tongue's dark purple coloration protects it from sunburn during prolonged feeding. Giraffes spend about 75% of their lives standing, even giving birth and sleeping upright most of the time. They sleep less than almost any other mammal, often under 30 minutes per day. When they do sleep deeply, it's usually in short bursts of 2 to 5 minutes. Giraffes' eyelashes can exceed 5 centimeters, 2 inches, in length, providing effective dust protection. Each giraffe's coat pattern is completely unique, acting like a natural fingerprint for identification. Artificial intelligence software now uses these patterns to identify individuals in the wild. The term for a group of giraffes is a tower, fittingly reflecting their stature. A group of giraffes walking together is sometimes called a journey. Giraffes communicate through infrasonic humming, especially at night, a sound too low for humans to hear. In captivity, giraffes hum audibly when separated from companions, suggesting emotional attachment. Studies indicate giraffes have excellent long-term social memory, recognizing familiar individuals after years. Apartheid giraffes are curious, but cautious. They investigate new objects by sniffing and gently touching them with their tongues. Their calm and inquisitive nature makes them favorites in safari parks and zoos worldwide. In zoos, giraffes have been trained to voluntarily present their hooves for trimming and their necks for medical checks. They are highly intelligent and can remember routines and handlers over long periods. Giraffes exhibit distinct personalities. Some are bold and interactive, while others are shy and reserved. In captivity, giraffes recognize their own reflection and may react socially to mirrors. The average giraffe's stride while walking covers nearly 4.5 meters, 15 feet. When running, they can cross up to 6 to 8 meters, 26 feet in a single bound. Although elegant, giraffes are not good jumpers. Most can barely clear a 0.5 meter, 1.6 foot obstacle. Their long necks make bending down to drink a complex motion requiring careful leg splaying. The act of drinking is one of the few times a giraffe is truly vulnerable in the wild. Giraffes can drink up to 10 gallons, 38 liters of water in one session. However, they can go weeks without drinking if vegetation provides enough moisture. Giraffes' droppings are small and dry, resembling goat pellets, a sign of efficient water retention. Their digestive system produces very little gas, making giraffes silent browsers. They are among the cleanest feeders, eating leaves without uprooting branches or damaging trees. Giraffes chew their food more thoroughly than most ruminants, maximizing digestion. Their stomachs can hold over 75 liters of semi-digested material. Giraffes' saliva is antiseptic, helping heal small mouth wounds from thorns. They often swallow leaves whole, relying on rumination to grind them later. A giraffe's neck cannot reach the ground, so it must spread its legs to feed on low vegetation. Giraffes prefer acacia leaves, which contain compounds that may deter insects and parasites. Acacia trees emit warning chemicals when browsed, causing nearby trees to increase tannin levels, a natural defense. Giraffes respond by feeding upwind to avoid those trees, showing remarkable behavioral adaptation. Giraffes' long tongues and dexterous lips allow them to navigate around sharp thorns. They can strip 60 pounds of leaves in a single day. Male giraffes use their necks as weapons in dominance battles, a behavior called necking. Necking bouts can last from a few seconds to over half an hour. These battles determine social rank and mating rights. The male's heavy skulls act as clubs, delivering powerful blows. Males often develop bald ossicones from repeated combat. Female giraffes prefer darker-coated males, which tend to be older and more dominant. Calves are born after a 15-month gestation and drop 2 meters, 6.5 feet at birth. This fall is harmless. It helps break the umbilical cord and stimulate breathing. Newborn giraffes stand within 30 minutes and can run within 10 hours. Calves spend much of their time lying down to conserve energy and avoid detection. Giraffe mothers nurse for 6 to 9 months and remain protective throughout early growth. Giraffe milk is pale yellow and slightly salty. Compared to cow's milk, calves grow nearly 1 inch per day in their first week. Giraffes reach half their adult height by age 1. In the wild, giraffes can live about 20-25 years. In captivity, up to 30 years or more. The oldest recorded giraffe lived to 38 years in a zoo in Japan. Giraffes have no natural call like a roar or bleat. Most communication is visual or infrasonic. They can, however, produce short coughs, grunts, or sneezes in response to stimuli. A giraffe's heart rate slows dramatically during rest to conserve energy. Their blood pressure can reach 260 or 160 mg, nearly twice human levels. Despite this, giraffes do not suffer hypertension-related illnesses due to unique arterial elasticity. Giraffes' tails can reach over a meter, 3.3 feet long, ending in a tuft used to swat insects. Historically, giraffe tail hairs were used to make jewelry and ceremonial items. Their sense of hearing is acute enough to detect distant lion roars or human voices. Giraffes' nostrils can close completely to block sand during dust storms. They are excellent swimmers in theory, but rarely attempt to swim. Their limb proportions make it awkward. Mathematical models suggest that if forced to swim, giraffes would float tilted forward due to lung buoyancy. Fossil evidence shows ancient relatives of giraffes had shorter necks and larger bodies. The extinct Civatherium resembled a giant ox with a shorter neck and horns. Giraffes' evolutionary lineage stretches back over 8 million years. Their closest living relative, the okapi, shares many internal anatomical traits despite stark external differences. Giraffes' 7 long neck vertebrae are elongated versions of the same bones found in humans. If a giraffe's neck were proportionally scaled to human size, it would measure about 50 cm, 1.6 feet. Giraffes' blood vessels have one-way valves that prevent fainting when lowering their heads. Their red blood cells are smaller and more numerous than humans, increasing oxygen efficiency. The giraffe's gait inspired the creation of walking robots. Designed for energy efficiency, giraffes' necking behavior has inspired biomechanics research into pendulum motion. In the wild, giraffes can run faster than most predators for short distances, though lions rely on teamwork to catch them. A healthy adult giraffe has few natural predators, aside from humans. When alarmed, giraffes sometimes stamp the ground or snort to alert others. Their calm, towering presence makes them a favorite subject in art, film, and children's literature. The giraffe has appeared in famous films and as symbols of gentleness, height, and wisdom. In symbolism, the giraffe represents intuition, perception, and seeing the bigger picture. Modern conservation efforts have elevated the giraffe as a flagship species for savanna protection. Giraffes contribute to Africa's ecological balance by pruning trees and dispersing seeds across wide ranges. Their quiet dominance of the savanna exemplifies peaceful coexistence and ecological harmony. The giraffe remains one of Earth's most unique evolutionary marvels, a perfect blend of grace, power, and adaptation. From ancient admiration to modern conservation, the giraffe stands as a timeless emblem of balance between height, vision, and harmony in the natural world. And that was 1,000 fascinating facts about one of nature's most amazing creatures. Whether you listened all the way through or drifted off somewhere along the way, I hope this video brought you a sense of calm, comfort, and wonder. If you enjoyed this journey and want to explore more relaxing videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a gentle like, and let me know in the comments which animal you'd like to dream about next. Thank you for spending this quiet moment here. Rest easy, sleep well, and I'll see you in the next video.